Hello everyone. Today we are going to study about different components of microgrid. It is one of the experiments in energy system labs. So before going further, I would like you to introduce to microgrid. So what is microgrid? It is a distributed level energy system which includes all the necessary components to operate in isolation or with the grid. A microgrid can connect or disconnect from the main grid as in physical conditions or by if we have some economic conditions accordingly. It can also operate on both grid connected mode synchronous with the grid and also in island mode, which is that is disconnected from the main grid. It is basically a local energy system. We can see from the figure we can see the AC microgrid control system. We can see DC microgrid. We can also see high frequency AC microgrid. So we have a common point of common coupling, that is through which it is connected to the grid. We have generation, we have storage, we have demand. So microgrid can be operated in two major modes, that is grid tied or in islanded mode. Grid tied means it is connected to the grid. We can we can see the features of peak shaving, we can control frequency regulation, we can also see demand response. In an islanded mode, we have to check about load isolation, we have to check about emergency power, that is planned or unplanned outage. If there is any unplanned or planned outage or blackout, so we have to check that. The main components of the microgrid are generation, energy storage and demand. And all these three components, these are bounded and are controlled network. So we have energy supply system, we have energy storage capacity, we have demand response and efficiency measures, we have energy management system. So the energy supply system, we have distributed generations. We have conventional energy sources also, and we have non-conventional energy sources. Like in conventional, we have coal, right, nuclear fuel, etc. And in renewable energy sources, we have wind, we have solar, right. So for energy storage capacity, we have batteries, we have thermal storage, we have electric vehicles. And demand response and efficiency measures, our main aim in demand response or demand side management is to minimize the overall energy use, right. We have to take care of the energy consumption pattern, and also we have to reduce non-critical load when operating in isolation. Next is energy management systems. It is to maintain the balance and also to stabilize the system. And for this we can do real time forecasting. We can check real time responses. We can go for utility grid interconnection also. So from the figure we can see that there are certain factors which are considered for a microgrid to operate. First one is that is selection of combination of microgrid equipment, that is based upon the key attributes like manage demand and supply with intelligent control of any kind of imbalance. So we have to check for demand and supply when we are operating a microgrid. And also we have to check that the system is reliable, it is sustainable, it is affordable along with the grid characteristics and availability. So next is when we come for local generation, microgrid must be able to supply energy to its connected loads independent of the utility. So the generation sources must exist within the microgrid. So these sources could range from readily controlled to intermittent or to not controllable. So these could be renewable energy sources or non-renewable energy sources, that is conventional or non-conventional. Next is end-use loads and demand-side energy management. So the type of the end-use devices we have to take care of we have to take care of the end-use energy consumption patterns. So we have to flatten the load curve by checking the energy usage, right? Now this type of energy use devices determines electric loads that the microgrid has to be capable of handling, which in turn influences the power generating capacity and also the storage requirements. So for instance, when we are charging a cell phone, it will not have much load on the grid, but when we are charging or we are connecting our system to ACs and all this will increase the load on the microgrid. So we have to check that there should be balance between demand and supply. Next, demand response, it is defined by FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, that is changes in electric usage by end-use customers from their normal consumption patterns in response to changes in the price of electricity over the time, or incentive payments designed to induce lower electricity use at times of high wholesale market prices or when system reliability is jeopardized, that is harmed. So it is a subset of DSM which includes immediate real-time measures as well as long-term and permanent energy efficient measures. So storage, we have to, when we are generating it, we can also store the energy, right? We will act as prosumers, that means we are producers as well as we are consumers. So microgrids must have some form of energy storage as a means to time shift down generation to match the load demands as well as critical fallback supply in islanded mode operation. So with energy storage, the microgrid can absorb and store the energy generated at times. That means we can act as prosumers. We can both produce and we can also use, or we can also store the energy which we are generating. So energy storage can also be leveraged for arbitrage in wholesale power markets and also with time-based rates such as real-time marketing, peak marketing, or time of use pricing. So the energy storage technology is chosen based on the size of the microgrid and the reaction time required. So for instance, for remote microgrids or smaller grids, batteries are the most commonly used storage devices because the storage capacity required by the microgrid does not justify the higher costs associated with the other storage technologies. So batteries can also be used to provide the ancillary services required within the microgrid. Large-scale storage technologies such as hydro-based storage or thermal storage, while cheaper for time-shifting operations, they might have high initial costs that can make the uh, microgrid a challenging task. Now, microgrid monitoring and control system. So it has to tie all the components together and maintain the real-time balance of the generation and load. So we have to take care of the demand and supply every time. So this control system can follow a centralized or decentralized scheme. So in most of the basic microgrid configurations, the control system might just be a governor controlling a diesel generator, or in more complex microgrids, this comprises of the sensors or meters, sophisticated software platforms, communication paths which are designed to allow for real-time optimization and control of the generators, and energy storage, loads, utility interface. And during the grid connected operation, these control systems need to manage the utility interconnection and also communicate with the system operator center of the utility or independent system operator, including DR management system, that is demand response management system, in the real time. Now, when we talk about utility interconnection, that means a distinctive feature of the microgrid is the interconnection with the utilities power grid, or sometimes which is definitely point of common coupling, right? This is what when allows the microgrid to operate in the grid connected mode or also in islanded modes. That means apart from the grid, not connected to the grid. And transition is relatively seamlessly between both. So during grid connected operation, the microgrid utility interconnection at the PCC must be designed to allow for safe and reliable parallel operation. There should be parallel, reliable and safe operation, right? And concurrent operation of the microgrid and utility microgrid. So the existing utility equipment may need to be upgraded to handle the various changes that occur when we are islanding a microgrid. That is, we are separating a microgrid from the grid. So for reliability and resilience point of view, the focused microgrids where relatively frequent islanded mode operations are anticipated. The PCC must also incorporate the equipment to allow for seamless disconnection and reconnection of the microgrid to the power grid. This is very important for reliable and secure connection. The system has to be reliable, the system has to be resilient, the system has to be safe, right? So this resynchronization of the two systems is a complex process, and failure to adequately design for this function can result to instability. If any kind of failure occurs, so that will lead to instability of both the microgrid and also the main power grid. So accordingly, islanding of microgrids, right, must be addressed at both the technical and policy levels, taking in view of your safety concerns and user equipment damage, reclosing scenarios, etc. There are several advantages of decentralized over centralized system. We have already studied in last semesters also, like for earlier we were having centralized system, we were having only one grid and we were having different consumers. Now we have moved to decentralization of the our grid, right? We have various small grids, we have different utilities, we have different independent system operators, then we have different consumers, right? So centralized control schemes have important advantages, like they are suitable for fast changing infrastructures. They could easily be expanded because of their plug in and play capabilities. They are more reliable. If in case there comes any kind of a fault or any kind of disturbance in the grid, we can opt for some other one, right? But in case of centralized system, we'll only have to opt for one. We have to be dependent on only one thing or one operator. So main disadvantages of centralized control schemes are that they are computationally expensive and time consuming. Central controller needs to run an optimization problem that takes into account a large number of distributed generation loads and storage units. So the central controller has high communication requirements, leading to additional cost and risk of single point of failure. So in summary, in centralized control, the microgrid operation is optimized by single entity. That is, we have control systems also which assigns the set points to the loads, distributed generation, storage units towards attaining the microgrid's operating strategy and targets. In centralized mode, the decisions are taken locally by the various actors, like we have loads, we have distributed generation, we have storage unit, etc. So now in this figure we can see the anatomy of DC or AC microgrid, how it is connected. We have a normal connection. The orange one is the normal connection and the orange one is islanded connections. In normal we have dispatchable generation, we have predictable intermittent things, we have unpredictable intermittent, then we have DC storage, we have critical load, adjustable load and schedule load, and these are further categorized in generation, storage and demand. When we talk about islanded operation, we have different different sets of two sets of same thing. So these are connected to the grid through PCC. We can see now there are certain benefits and there are certain evolving benefits of microgrids. Some benefits are monetized benefits, some benefits are non-monetized benefits. When we talk about monetized benefits, we have conversion loss savings, we have low carbon cost, we have reduced peak power cost, we reduce capacity charges, we have network capex avoidance, we have low network redundancy, we have energy price arbitrage, optimized on supply use, auxiliary market services, power factor service. When we talk about non-monetized part of the benefits, then there's consistent secure power, we have protection of critical loads, we have controlled power quality, we have reduced blackout risk. These things are very important. So these are the benefits, right? We have employee engagement, we have consumer engagement, we have optimized existing system, reduce outage impact, visibility of energy use. So these are the benefits. When we talk about evolving solutions, so external and immature regulations, early adopter risk, grid interface. When you talk about grid interface, capital asset, operation and power quality, there are certain factors which are acting as the evolving solutions for the existing grid. Now microgrid is a versatile approach which has a range of applications extending through off-grid communities, high-tech industries, mission critical operations and low carbon. It can be operated as remotely or off-grid. It acts as low carbon leaders because there are less carbon emissions. When we are connecting the microgrid, we are working in islanded mode, intentional islands, critical supply. So these are the benefits and these are the challenges. When we talk about AC microgrid, we have to go for, there is always a plug-in approach for all distributed energy sources. We have well-developed interconnection, products and standards and codes, right? Hybrid, when to talk about hybrid microgrid, suitable for application of both AC and DC. When we talk about DC microgrid, there is no need for plug-in. We not only have to be only dependent upon plug-in approach. So these are produced or stored by PV system, fuel cells, batteries. These are used by increasing number of electrical devices, lower conversion requirements, energy savings around 5 to 15%, right? Suitable for zero net energy buildings and suitable for data centers. And what are the challenges? When we talk about AC microgrid, there are certain challenges also. When we talk about DC microgrid, there are also certain challenges. So In hybrid also, the control of the system is a challenge itself. So increased conversion requirement from DC to AC and back to DC, this is a challenge. Energy losses is also a challenge, right? And we talk about DC current, lack of approved standards and codes for DC equipments, lack of familiarity with the DC designs, low voltage distribution systems, infrastructure upgrade required from DC to DC system. So these are the few benefits and challenges when we talk about the microgrid. So if you have any queries, you can contact me. So this was from my side for components of microgrid. Thank you so much.